this has really helped me in terms of understanding the specifics of what I'm doing at any given moment. Is what I'm doing one to many, or is what I'm doing one to one? So when I post on LinkedIn or post on Google My Business or Facebook, that's a one to many. So that's a marketing, that's a pre-selling, that's a informing the market. And when I take that off of social media and go to a face-to-face or a telephone conversation or a virtual meeting, that's where the sales nurturing comes in. So marketing qualified lead, they've shown interest in what my marketing campaigns and what Jim's marketing campaigns do. Sales qualified lead, they're ready for the one-to-one nurturing. So they're just some like rule of thumbs that I found really helpful to kind of not fool ourselves in terms of what we're doing, because there's social selling is really social marketing. We're not really selling at all until we get it to a one-to-one conversation.
Well, let's hear Jim's perspective on that.
Yeah.
We're getting there. So, I mean, you got to think about it. Sales isn't doing anything until marketing does their job. So where does everything start? With the marketing department. Who knows how to market? The guy that's actually doing it right now behind him with his background. So, when we look at this marketing funnel here, what do we got to do? We got to get as many people as we can into that funnel. And as we work our way down that funnel and feed more material and education to the prospects, potential prospects, now we're qualifying leads. And then we're going to send those leads off to the sales department.
But if you'd only give me truly qualified leads, Jim, I wouldn't have any problem converting them.
Well, maybe if you call all the leads I give you instead of 50% of them, you might sell a little more.
Yeah, but when I call people, they hang up on me because they're just not qualified. So what can we do about that? I mean, I look at you guys as a bunch of arrogant desk jockeys. They've never been on the street. You don't know don't have any savvy street sense, and you're just creating these ivory tower things.
Look. We hand feed you lead after lead after lead. And what do we get out of it? A few sales.
Yeah, well, sales is where the money is. We deliver the money. And
but you ain't delivering any money if you don't get the leads.
If you're not giving us good leads and we're not closing them, we can't give the money back and funnel that back into your efforts to build us. So come on, man.
We establish the brand. We get the messaging out there. We're educating the consumers. All you got to do is walk through that door and sell it.
Yeah. Okay. How about you ride along with me one time and see if it's that easy?
Well, I would if I didn't have to do all this work behind you to make your life that much easier. I mean, we're sitting there constantly reviewing everything that's coming through as far as marketing goes, from the basics to the old school print, TV, moving up to social media, figuring out what the latest analytics are to go by to run these social media campaigns, all the way to finding the new influencers out there that we can put the product in front of so that they can push that product to make your job easier.
Okay. All right. So how about, why should I have to do my own social posting on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Google? I mean, I just don't feel like the stuff you guys are posting are anywhere meaningful to what my ideal prospects are truly. It's not connecting with them, Jim.
Well, you shouldn't worry about doing your own post. If you want to do something on social media, just share our post that we're putting out there, because we're putting out there the message that needs to be heard.
Needs to be heard by who?
Any potential leads in our market.
Good. Making some good points, both of you.
Yeah. So I kind of look at you guys as working in the ivory tower, and I'd love to have you come out and ride along and actually find out what's going on the street, and you know, being in my one-to-one conversations, one-to-one meetings, so that you can see what, and you can even ask them. I'll open it up and ask the prospects, how they're resonating. Have it a live focus group if you want. How's that sound?
Hey, that sounds fine. As long as we'd like you to start communicating with us. Let us know what people are saying out there instead of just saying you're doing it wrong. Feedback is key.
Okay. Have you even given me your email or your cell phone or your?
Look it up in the company directory.
Yeah, I'd love to have you. How about we have a a live Zoom meeting and go over that stuff. I'd love to do that because and I'd love to hear your feedback too. So does that sound like a winner?
Sounds like a winner. So I'm guessing communication is where we're going to fix this.
Yeah. All right.
As long as okay, there you go.
Well, we can. Yeah. So stats are that when sales and marketing are actually in sync and work together, as we were kind of leading toward to the end of that little dialogue, companies have 67% better outcomes when it comes to actually closing the deal, gaining new engagements and stuff. So as Jim shared, it all starts with communication, eliminates the guessing game out of it. And one of the key aspects of why I'm offering these articles is that you can mutually define what a qualified lead represents. So if sales wants a certain type of lead because that's what the market's telling them, we need to communicate that back to marketing, and then marketing can communicate what the research and what the demographic data is showing them. So maybe we're missing a segment of the market that we hadn't initially seen. Those articles that I'm offering also talk about establishing a lead scoring system and how that aids in the communication between the marketing and the sales roles. Establish a buddy system. What we were talking about is riding out, me going into the marketing department, salespeople, and actually understanding what they're doing, and vice versa, temporarily reverse the roles.
Yeah, I mean, the
My
sales
newfound
department,
buddy, Jim, can you add any of that?
I just want to say the sales department can actually be one of the best resources for the marketing department because they are out there, they're in the field, they're talking to the prospects and the leads, and also the people that want nothing to do with what we're selling. So they have all the information on the ground. So it's in the best interest of the marketing department to find out what those things are, so that they can better market the business and brand it and advertise.
Yeah, I love that. And what I find out when I'm out with prospects, if I'm truly listening to them with the desire to understand what they're facing, then I can be of better service to them. And I think that's kind of a big takeaway for me here. If I truly want to understand what you guys are doing in marketing better, that I can feed you better information. And in turn, you can provide better leads for me and provide better marketing content. You agree with that?
Yep, I do.
Cool. All right. So in the end, we're going to work toward establishing the partnership and being in sync so that at the end of the game, we're all on the same team and that we can drive that 60% growth in better outcomes for the organization, the company that we're working for. So this is where we have the mutual virtual handshake. So small business person doing both roles. How do you reconcile the blame game? So I'm curious how you do it, Jim. You're doing your marketing and sales as a small business owner, how are you reconciling the blame game?
I take myself out for a beer, talk it over with myself, try to figure out what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. But honestly, I mean, one of the things that you got to remember is, if you're a person that is just doing both roles yourself, if you're a sole entrepreneur like myself or something, is you got to remember not to put the cart before the horse. When I was first starting this, one of the things I kind of figured out I was doing was I was trying to close a deal before people really understood what I was selling. And it's a learning process, and you just got to understand, like, you have all this information in your head, but the other person that is across from you doesn't. So you got to get that information in front of them. You got to get them to understand the brand, got to understand what the product is you're selling, and whether it is beneficial for them or not. And then once they understand those things, that's when it turns into a sales call instead of a marketing call. So that's
One of the things I said earlier, Jim, was that the sales qualified lead is where someone, marketing qualified lead, where somebody raises their hand, expresses interest. Sales qualified lead is what the one-to-one nurturing. So my question is, what role does the marketing aspect play in nurturing and growing the interest, so that when it does get to one-to-one, they're further down the funnel?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the education. It's bottom line is, people don't know what you do. They can't buy your product. They don't know what your product is. They don't know they need it. So the marketing aspect is truly just building the brand awareness. Those things are key. I mean, if you own a business in Westchester and you walk down the street in Westchester and ask someone, have you ever heard of this business? And if 10 out of 10 people say no, well, then you're not marketing your business correctly. You got to make sure people know who you are, or else people aren't going to buy.
How do you differentiate between, like, you and I are solopreneurs at this point, where, a difference between me as the brand and the company as the brand, and they're one and the same in many scenarios, but how do you for the small business operator, make the differentiation between a personal brand and a company brand?
For me, it's one and the same. I mean, I'm owner, operator, sales, technician, you name it, I do it. So I'm one and the same with my brand. My name is, goes right along. Jimmy Stewart goes right along with your local network. And I'm only saying Jimmy Stewart because that gets people's attention.
Little
and
Jimmy
starts a conversation.
Little Jimmy. Slam. Yeah, I mean, that's really key, recognizing that we do function and operate in both roles. And, you had said that you take yourself out for a beer. Well, have my meeting between marketing and sales. I go out fishing and that's where I have my sales meetings. So, but yeah, cool. Just anybody relating, in terms of them being a small business operator, and even somebody that works for a larger organization like the credit unions, you still have to establish your own personal brand. So I'm curious, what you found successful in terms of establishing your own brand, and then using that effectively to nurture the leads and nurture your prospects.
Bruce, I have a question. Can we stop sharing the screen now so we can see everybody's faces, maybe?
Yeah, I just want to put this back in. So just text me article and we'll get those out to you. Absolutely.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, awesome. Cool.
What say you, referee? Did
I
we-
think you guys had a good clean match here. You know, you both made some strong points. You know, somebody who's, you know, I've been looking for the marketing side, and Jim and I have talked about it a number of times, and starting to see some things differently. We're starting to go in a direction. You know, so I like the fact that you have to be able to talk to marketing and sharing those things. I know like Joe has a lot more restrictions on him out there because of regulations. So the one-on-ones, the personal talks that we have with one another, the selling ourselves, we're marketing ourselves each and every day as individuals, as just salespeople. So that's why it's got to work together. And I think the partnership that you guys mentioned is just greatly needed between both sides.
So I need to
Absolutely.
partner with myself, right?
Well,
But,
sometimes
but
yeah,
no, it,
you
I mean,
wear-
it speaks our personal,
you got to take care of things, you know?
Yeah. I mean, our personal brand is, I mean, everybody on this call, um, mostly, you know, we see on a consistent basis at Connection, we see, and that's part of branding too. You know, your visibility, your consistency, you know, how you, your 30-second, you know, commercials during those times, and that, you know, that all that's part of the personal branding and the personal marketing, so that when it does get to the one-to-one, then there's always that established brand, if you will, as Jim talked about.
And that's the beauty of a chamber of commerce, especially one like the Exton Chamber, especially for solopreneurs, is that you might not have a marketing department like Franklin Mint, Federal Credit Union, but you have members that can use your services. So, you know, you used to, like some organizations, you have a 1-800 number. But if you're in need, you just go into extonchamber.com, extonregionchamber.com, and you might be able to find a solution for your problem, and help a fellow chamber member.
And that goes back to the strength of connections. You know, dealing with the VIP, the victories, the inspirations, and the problems. We're all there to help one another.
To you know, my personal experience, but also my call to action here is, if as a solopreneur, as an individual person out in the market in a larger company, if you're finding you're struggling in certain areas of either marketing or sales, then you know, reach out to Jim, reach out to myself, and you know, have a conversation. You know, we might be able to backfill for you and make it easier and more productive for you.
Anyone else have any questions, comments?
I think we need.
Nah,
to set up a
I was
CF
gonna say, I just kind of was thinking that the whole time when you were talking about the personal brand, and especially what Jim said when he said he always mentions his name along with the business because that's his personal brand. I find that even though we have the larger marketing department, I still have to always throw out there, Rob Kroll, I do business banking accounts and commercial lending. Because if I just tell them Franklin Mint Federal Credit Union, I'm always fighting the stigma that, oh, credit unions don't do business banking. I don't know how many people that are personal members at Franklin Mint go to TD and Wells Fargo because they don't think we can handle it. And 15 years ago, I was fighting it because they told me we didn't do mortgages when I did mortgages every day. And before that was credit cards. I'm sure in the 80s it was, oh, you guys don't do checking accounts. And they were fighting that stigma the whole time too. So you still have to, even though you have the larger marketing department behind you, you still have to carve out your niche and you know, let people know what your specialty is.
Right. And I mean, and that's something that goes back to the, you know, communication thing. That's something where if I was you, I would be sending an email at least once a month to the marketing, you know, head of marketing department saying, hey, just so you know, you're not putting this message out there to the market. They don't know we do this. And, you know, it's about communicating to them. If you hit them over the head enough times with it, you know, hopefully you'll see something.
Another aspect, Rob, to build on what, you know, invite them out for a beer or invite them out to go fishing and have a you know, an informal meeting. in addition to the email that Jim's talking about. So,
They might need a 4-week lead time to go out and have a drink.
I hear you. That's a great point, Rob. Great point.
Yeah.
I like the point too that Jim made, that sometimes in your head, as you know, in sales, you think that everybody knows what you're talking about. You know, well, there was marketing. Didn't you see that email? Didn't you see that post on social media? Why don't you know what's happening, you know, right now? And that's a false impression. You know, you have to constantly ask the questions, and that's where the sales comes back in of, you know, is that message being heard and is it being projected properly?
One key thing I want to add here is that the terminology social selling, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. But from my perspective, that's not really selling at all. It's more marketing. And I think that clarifying that in your own mind, it doesn't mean you absolutely need to make those posts on social media and on Jim's billboards and things like that to establish your personal brand. But it doesn't become selling until you're having that one-to-one interaction, and be it phone, virtual, or in person. And so that's there's nurturing that takes place both from the marketing standpoint, the social media standpoint, as well as the in-person nurturing. Cool. Laurie, from our standpoint, that's about it. Unless there's we'd certainly be willing to field any additional questions or comments that people have.
Well, I think in this match, we had two winners here. Both of you brought up some great points. You know, you explained them well. I think hopefully everyone walks away with a little something today, and we can all take it back to where we come from, and you know, use it in our daily lives.
That's the goal. Thanks, Bill.
Yep.
I thought the match was very entertaining. You guys get props for that. You might not have been able to see my face, but I was laughing a lot. So I appreciate that, and it really is valuable information for us to consider, right? From time to time, to just do better at our jobs as salespeople, as marketing people. It is so intertwined, and whether you're a solopreneur or work in a large corporation, it's very valuable. So I don't know if anybody else has anything to add about that. I'm so appreciative of you being on today.
I think it's great. I think, you know, when you guys are talking about sole props versus larger companies that have marketing departments, and when you're a one-man operation, you're doing everything, kind of comparing and contrasting, that was great. And I certainly enjoyed the theme, and I think we should somehow down the road incorporate arm wrestling into one of our events. What do you think, Bruce? Me and you arm wrestle next time I see you.
Okay. And Jim, you've been working out, so I got to start working out too, man. All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending. It was great having you here. Really appreciate your participation and input. Your questions and comments were really appreciated and spot on.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for doing it, guys.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks,
Thank you
guys.
for our
Good
guest
job.
referee also.
Thanks. That's great.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Bill.
All right.
See
See you
ya.
now.
See you guys.
Jim, Bruce, Bill, Laurie, thank
There
you.
go.
Great day.
Take care.